Hi, I'm Kimberly Dark, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about bias in the medical profession. So, wow, we're going through an epidemic. We're in the process of trying to figure out how do we take um, resources that are not adequate to the task and apply them to all of the people who might need help. And that is a tragic situation. There's folks talking about how do we figure out how to do this. It happened in Italy, right, where they had a triage system where they had to figure out who do we give no treatment to. And okay, I understand under some circumstances that's necessary, but I just want to say it should always be difficult rather than being a matter of policy to figure out who lives or dies. It should always be a challenging, heart-wrenching situation that forces people to focus more attention on being able to provide adequate resources for medical care rather than making those kinds of choices. But no, here we are with this situation where folks are trying to put into policy, who are we going to deny care to? So let me just say something about bias. We all have it. Bias is a normal part of the human condition, and it also already exists in healthcare. I'm sorry to say, right? There are loads of studies that show that, people of color receive less pain control medications, for instance. I mean, I could cite these all day. There are lots of ways that bias shows up. This is the thing. We somehow assume that some magical thing happens so that doctors and judges and teachers, professions like this, do not experience bias and are somehow objective with everyone. It's not possible, though. It's just not possible. So here we are figuring out, how do we inscribe into policy the biases that we hold in an unconscious way in our culture, right? I mean, for some people it's conscious. But this thing about age or disability status or weight and size, like body mass index, whether a person is fat or not, to receive health care, wow, this is a really big problem. Because first of all, it's just wrong to decide the value of a human being based on criteria like this. But secondly, it reinscribes something that we already are doing in everyday life, right? And rather than saying, yes, this is okay to treat certain people differently based on their appearance or based on their identity, it really is reinforcing that. So I remember back in high school, I mean, it was like, 10th grade history class, George Ryan, and he had us do an activity where we were, running into a cave to save ourselves from a tsunami, right? The thing was, 5 of us get in the cave, and in order to shut the door to protect anyone from the tsunami, there's only room for 4. We have to push one out. And so we have to decide in 5 minutes who gets pushed out, right? And the people in the cave are like, I don't know, a 17-year-old who just finished high school, a 80-year-old person who's a great composer, a 35-year-old person who just finished having her 3rd child, right? Like different things. So the idea that somehow you can decide the value of a human life is the point of this activity. And what did we find as 10th graders? No, you can't. You can't know whether the world is going to be a better place minus one of these people versus minus a different one of these people. This is the situation that we are faced with now, and we are absolutely, absolutely on the verge of reinscribing really terrible biases that should not exist in our culture. And I don't know, I learned about this in 10th grade. I've been teaching about unconscious bias for a long time. And so I'm going to speak out about these kind of injustices. You can't decide a value of a human life, and we shouldn't withhold medical care based on pre-existing biases and bigotry. What are you going to do about this? I would really love to know. There are some groups forming and, to fight against this, but I wonder, what are you going to do? Please let me know.